Good day, everybody, and welcome to the Influencer Series, week number 3. This is a forum where every 2 weeks I interview someone who has the insight and the experience to help all of us take our lives, our careers, our businesses to the next level. And today I am delighted to have Deirdre Sartorelli. Deirdre is with us, and Deirdre is the director of the Angle Center of Entrepreneurship at Endicott College in Beverly, Massachusetts. And she works with students to elevate their novel business concepts every day of the year. She's also the driving force behind the annual student-run business competition known as Spark Tank. I've had the pleasure to work with Deirdre a number of times, most recently on the annual State of Technology of the North Shore presentation that's put together with the North Shore Technology Council. And this is an opportunity where industry and students collaborate on in-depth economic and technical and demographic analyses that's presented to North Shore businesses. And so I would like to welcome Deirdre to the Influencer Series.
Thank you, Jim. I've been looking forward to this collaboration today.
Yeah. So this is kind of a fun thing, and I'm doing it with a number of people. I think you know Gary Magnet, who was he was the subject of the Influencer Series last time, and Gary sends his hellos and his kudos, and he was very excited to hear that you were going to be part of this program. So
yeah, Gary was was actually our first entrepreneur in residence at Endicott College.
Is that right? Wow. Yeah. Wow, isn't that amazing? And how long ago?
Yeah,
we've done a lot of work together, and you've had me participate in Spark Tank, which is an awesome event, annual event that you guys have at Endicott, and that's a lot of fun, and also great. It's a great opportunity for students to really gauge and compare the work that they've done, and actually take their businesses to the next level.
Yeah, the stakes are high.
Yeah, they really are. So tell us a little bit more about the Angle School and what it is that you guys do there.
The best way, I love to say that Endicott College is about democratic entrepreneurship. So, 5-6 years ago when I came to Endicott, and my career had been in technology, I came to higher ed late in life, which says that everyone can have a chapter 2, Jim, chapter 3, chapter 4. The way I had described my vision for the center, the Angle Center, is if you think of like a bullseye. So in the center of that bullseye, any of the programming that we do at the Angle Center will always have students at the core of it. And then if you were to draw another circle around that, then it's alumni. And then that third circle is the greater community. So every program that we conceptualize, it has to pass one of those 3 tests. And as I learned more about our students and our alumni, this notion came to me that really our brand of entrepreneurship at Endicott is different than, say, an MIT or Harvard or Stanford. It's really democratic entrepreneurship. So what do I mean by that? At one end of the spectrum, we've got students that are designing that next app. They're involved with life science startups. But on the other end of that spectrum, we've got students who are working in, we'll call it like an old school business, but with a twist. And that twist has made them be very successful entrepreneurs. And of course, we've got everything in between. So, I like to say that the job that I have at Endicott College is the best kept secret, but probably now it's not going to be a secret anymore.
And so it's interesting because Endicott College is, it's a bit of a gem here on the North Shore as far as I'm concerned. I know of very few campuses that are as lovely as Endicott, and it really is up and coming in a number of areas. You guys have started an engineering program there, and
right.
And you're really much way on the cutting edge. And you mentioned this concept of democratic entrepreneurship versus what they might do at MIT or at Harvard. And I guess what you're referring to is the fact that those guys are they're so good at really pushing the envelope of the next bleeding edge of technology, for example, whether you're, maybe it's the media lab or whatever that they're doing at MIT and Harvard. But you're not only doing that, but you're helping traditional businesses and probably family-run businesses, I would imagine, as well, correct?
Right. And it's interesting you mentioned family business. So we actually have a lot of students who come from family businesses. And in fact, we offer a class in family business. So, and if you think about it, there's one professor at Endicott who teaches family business, and her business was printing, 100-year-old printing business. And if you think of how you've had to manage the disruption that's happened in printing over 100 years, she takes those lessons learned and brings them into the classroom. So, so family business is a big part of it. And I will tell you that our students always impress me, right? Because they know how to like dig deep and work hard. And it, like us, sometimes they have an idea in their head, and it's like trying to get that idea out of the head into a prototype, doing the customer discovery piece of that. And so that's where, the joy is in my job, is having those conversations with students. Now, and you probably would say this as well. You end up learning as much from the students as you impart to them.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And one of the things that I've always believed in, and this is reinforced every day in spades with me, is that, until you have the opportunity to teach something, you don't really know it. And one of the things that's always impressed me about the students that I've met from the Angle School is that there's a ton of interwoven collaboration and support that seems to exist within the community that you've built there at Endicott.
It's true. So even though physically the Angle Center sits in the Garish School of Business, we do outreach to all the schools on campus. So School of Engineering, the arts and sciences, science students, nursing students, visual arts students, students who are studying education as well too. And you find that, I just had a conversation with a young woman last week, visual arts major, just graduated, and is working on an app that will help native Spanish speakers learn English more easily.
Wow.
And and I just thought of like that intersection of her design capabilities, the fact that she's a native Spanish speaker as well, knew how hard it was to learn English, and then the story, right? It was the story that she told is really what got me interested in learning more about her app. Wow. As a matter of fact, this past semester, we launched a course on storytelling for entrepreneurs that was well received.
No kidding. Wow,
yeah.
That's fantastic. And that is such an important part of communication, and such an important part of teaching, and such an important part of building a business, to be able to relate and portray in story form what exactly it is that you're trying to bring to market. That's fantastic. What kind of student-run businesses that you've worked with in the past have been most successful? What are some of the stories that you're particularly proud of?
So one, Crop Shop is one that I think you're familiar with as well. That Crop Shop Market, cropshopmarket.com, is an idea that came from a student by the name of AJ. He's an environmental science major, and he had a passion for food, loved watching cooking shows, and then started to think of how he could connect his passion for food with his love for the environment, and realized that farmers who make organic, create or grow organic produce have a hard time finding chefs who want that produce. There's a lot of friction in that marketplace. The chefs are busy cooking, and I know you cook, Jim, right? Chefs are busy cooking, farmers are busy growing, neither has time to find one another. And so AJ and his co-founder Cam created an app that actually takes the friction out of that marketplace. And they've done some iterations. They're in the process of iterating now as well too. That is a great success story. Billy Pepe graduated, grew up working on a farm in Massachusetts. You have to get a certification to operate heavy equipment, had gone to training, and as a freshman came to me and said, that training's horrible. I can do a better job. So I said, okay, let's put your money where your mouth is. And we used Endicott as a laboratory, because you mentioned before how beautiful our campus is. It's a lot of work to keep the campus that beautiful. So Billy worked with the men and women who operate the heavy equipment on our campus to keep it beautiful, gave them the training to get their certification. And 4 years later now, he's doing that as sort of his side hustle, in addition to his full-time job working for Caterpillar. And we've got, alumni that are very influential in the fashion world. And we've got people who have decided to marry their passion for healthcare with the fact that, our healthcare system is broken. Then they're looking to how to become entrepreneurial within the healthcare system.
Interesting. And you've had a lot of students that have come through the entrepreneurship program that have gone on to traditional corporate gigs as well. I mean, I think that the entrepreneurial process exists in every company pretty much, and in every enterprise. And so the things that you learn when you go through the program that you've developed there are broadly applicable, regardless of what you choose to do for your job, and and also where life might take you. I think those skills are also valuable in that respect, aren't they?
That's precisely right. And you look at any of the successful companies these days, they all have what I'll call a laboratory, right? Laboratory in quotes within them. And students who can think entrepreneurially, know how to become change agents within companies, they're going to do well in those companies. I mean, we're living in this crazy time right now, and companies that can kind of embrace where we are, for good or bad, right? To take this disruption and say, okay, what is it that we can do to pivot our company, take advantage of it? They're going to do fine. And it takes students who know how to think that way, right? Who aren't afraid of the change. Maybe, a spin on a new kind of business model. The other unexpected outcome we had of the program is that our students actually ended up graduating and getting jobs at accelerators or at incubators. So we had a student who went to Greentown Labs, which is one of, it's a very large clean tech incubator. We have a student who's working at Lab Central, which is affiliated with Harvard Innovation Lab. And that was an unexpected consequence of our entrepreneurship program, but a good one.
It is, yeah, fantastic. And, the concept of entrepreneurship really is, there's a lot of things that encompass what it means to be an entrepreneur. But there's the preparation that you have, which is really what you put the students through. You prepare them to come out into the world, and then there's the perspective, and the perspective particularly when it comes to disruption, because taking disruptions and being able to find what has changed as a result of the disruption, and then being able to find whatever problems have resulted from the disruption, finding solutions to those problems is absolutely key to the whole soul of entrepreneurship. And then being able to make the progress to be able to accelerate to the next step and actually scale up a business idea. So, one of the things that you and I have talked about quite a bit in the last couple of months is this whole concept of disruption. And so, in this position, in an entrepreneur's position, disruption is your friend. What's different about this, in your opinion, this current COVID-19 disruption that we're currently facing that seems so daunting, do you think?
I think there's some industries that were slow to the dance on embracing new business models, and probably thought they had a 10 or 15-year runway to get to whatever that next model is. And all of a sudden, that's not the case. It's here and now. And I'm very passionate about this. The businesses that have either stayed really close to helping customers increase their revenue, right, the customer's revenue, or are focused on helping customers become more efficient, i.e. driving cost out of the equation. I think those businesses are going to do well in this period of disruption. And the fact that you got to stay nimble. I mean, I don't think anyone knows what things are going to look like a year, 2 years from now, but it's going to look different. And some of the stuff that we're going through now, for sure, is noise. And so you've got to be able to have the patience to separate out the noise from what is substantive as well, too. And I liken it, so I live in Maine, I liken it to like you got a pot of water and you're going to cook lobsters. If you put them in without the water boiling, those poor lobsters don't know what they've gotten into, versus the alternative. And I think that's what, we've talked about this with disruption, like it's happening around you. And if you have the right training and if you're given the right perspective, you can kind of at least have your antenna up to know that it's coming. Now, you might not have the exact solution ready for it, but you at least know something right now feels different in the environment. And so I think if, our students can graduate knowing that to have their feelers out, so to speak, for innovation, disruptive thinking, in a positive way, they'll be well poised to do well.
Yeah, that's really what it's all about, is getting that sense of, in terms of preparing, it's almost a way of gaining a kind of clarity about the environment that you're in and the markets that you serve, isn't it?
It truly is. And I'm sure you've seen some in your ecosystem, but I've seen some businesses in the past couple of months struggle because they didn't have that clarity. And it might get back to their value proposition. I think it gets back to even something, it gets back to their story, right? They didn't have a clear story. And by the way, when I say story, I don't mean fluff, right? Story, humans are wired for story, right? There's science behind it. And so businesses that will be doing well coming, out of where we are right now have a story that is focused on the customer, and that story has the ability to evolve.
Yeah, and it's not only a story that inherently has an ability to evolve, but it's the individuals who have developed the story in the first place who, and the word you used I love, because this word had crossed my mind even before you said it, and that is the word nimble. And really what that means is not allowing your roots to go so deep that you can't pick up and move someplace else or do something else that's outside of your comfort zone. And I think that's a big problem for a lot of people. And I think when you look at the issues that people are having in this time frame, it's the fact that there's so much unknown. There's so much out of people's control, at least that they perceive. And so few people have taken risks in their lives. They feel uncomfortable with doing things differently or reconsidering a different model for doing things. And it's at the heart of a successful entrepreneur to be able to have that nimbleness, isn't it?
It is. And so I just was saying this, there's the phrase, eat your own dog food. So even from the Angle Center, taking a look at all of our programming for the next year and saying, what do I need to do? Not just to, slightly change, but perhaps do a significant recalibration on it, knowing that, we don't know what the next year might be like that's going to unfold, but we are absolutely focused at Endicott in terms of delivering high quality programming for students. So Spark U, Spark Tank, we had a really successful conference for women back at actually it was on Leap Day in February, which talking with some of the attendees, it seems like that was another world because it was about a week before, everything kind of imploded. But everything that we do at the center is on the table. And over this next month or so, we're taking a look to say, okay, let's use this opportunity to maybe change things up a little bit.
So really, you're coming up with a new plan. So there's the planning part of it, but there's also having the consistency and the dedication to check in with that plan on a routine basis. Isn't that right?
That's right. And so obviously we have a strategic plan that for the Angle Center, but so Spark U, Spark Tank, those are part of our brands, but there's no reason why Spark U, for example, can't have a bigger virtual component. And we're probably going to do a little bit of a prototype program over the summer to see how that works. And then Spark U, just for your audience, it's traditionally has been a 3-day boot camp for entrepreneurs. People come in on a Friday night, leave on a Sunday with an idea. Sunday night, they're making a pitch in front of judges. So we're conceptualizing right now how to perhaps making that have more of a virtual component. And I'm even looking at, maybe doing some kind of fun program around a micro credential or micro badging for that, for the Spark U.
Wonderful. So I love that, because what you're talking about is the Angle Center for Entrepreneurship is being entrepreneurial. It's and how it's operating. So so one of the prime tenets of increasing your influence is role modeling the way. And boy, you're doing that in a big way, I guess, for this next year. And probably every other school has got to rethink their models and how they operate, right?
It's true. I actually was on a call earlier today with a very well-known institution in Boston, and we were just sharing some best practices. And everybody, I don't care who you are, Division I, Division III school, you have to rethink what you're doing, and of course being mindful of resources and outcomes. I mean, every year we want better outcomes. And so for me, the fun part is, you're in our ecosystem as an entrepreneur, Jim, that we've got more people that are coming in to Endicott's ecosystem that are, very influential in their field. They've heard about some of the things that are happening. We've done some work with the UN, I think State Department as well too. And so part of that, I get back to that bullseye I described to you: students, alumni, greater community. And we've got to provide the best education for our students. And that means too, every semester offering different kinds of courses in entrepreneurship. So we did a course on storytelling. In the fall, we'll be doing a course on what it's like to be the CEO of a startup, but also what it's like to work for the CEO of a startup as well too. And these classes are prototypes, but we like to keep it fresh.
Just as a takeaway for our short little session here today is, what is the thing that say an individual, it can be a student, or it can be anybody out there who's saying to themselves, I love the idea of being an entrepreneur, of having my own thing, starting my own business, taking that idea, but I don't even know if I've got an idea. I don't know how to, so a lot of times people tend to be confused about where to start and what to do. And I just wanted to see if you had any thoughts about that. Because I know that there's quite a few in our audience who are entrepreneurs. I'm sure that there are quite a few people that would like to explore the possibility of becoming an entrepreneur. And so what are the types of things that they should be thinking about, or what type of advice can you give them in terms of developing ideas? Just a little bit of some parting words of wisdom from Deirdre Sartorelli.
So leverage a network. People want to help aspiring entrepreneurs. And when you start to think about your network, and it might not be, the closest connection to you, but that person might have a connection. See, people need to really look at their network and find out where there might be some assets that can help them, because people do want to help people, either through time, talent, or treasure. Those are the three things, right? For entrepreneurs: time, maybe being a mentor; talent, maybe joining a startup as on their board of directors, and the treasure part speaks for itself. So leverage the network piece of that. And then I'm going to say this: act as if. I've used that phrase for probably longer than I even want to recount on something that's going to be recorded. Act as if. Act as if you do have the contacts. Act as if you do have a good idea. And I think just by thinking that gets you in that mindset of like a forward momentum. Okay?
Yeah.
Act as if. Act as if you're going to be successful, because the alternative is not something you want to think about.
Absolutely. Wow. That's act as if. I love how you frame that. I've spoke of this video often, and this is an individual that you may have heard of. His name's Earl Nightingale. Have you ever heard of that?
The name.
Yeah. So
yes.
He was a guy in the 50s who came out with a spoken word recording called The Strangest Secret. And it was the first spoken word recording to get gold record status. And you can see, if you just go to YouTube and Google Earl Nightingale or The Strangest Secret, you'll be able to hear his 30-minute talk on The Strangest Secret. And it's all about simply, you want to do something, the only way you're going to do it is by, as consistently and as often as possible, think about it. just keep thinking about it. And that's exactly the advice of what, think of as if you're already there. Visualize it. That's fantastic. And I also want to mention something that came up last week when we were with Gary Magnet. We talked all about networking, and he presented the concept of the 100-person challenge. And so he said, any question you have, you want to go into a new business or a new industry, every day for 100 days, talk to somebody in that industry. And if you don't know somebody, ask some of the people that you've talked to already. But they might not even be in the industry, but talk to somebody about that industry, even if it's just telling them, here's what I'm doing. Right. And he had advised a young lady that he had met on a plane to do that, and she did it, and she came up with her life, career, vocation as a result of the 100-day challenge. If you want to create your dream life, that's a formula for doing it. It's proven. And Gary actually said he got it from a ex-NFL football star who wanted to get into real estate, but he didn't have any idea how to do it. And he just, every day for 100 days, he talked to somebody else about real estate. If they didn't know anything about real estate, he'd say, well, what do you know about real estate? I don't care if you're not in real estate, just talking to people, right? Just keeping it in mind is what really matters, right? Yeah.
It's good advice. And it's measurable too. 100 days, everyone can envision 100 days. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Deirdre, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I enjoy our friendship and the fact that you're a fisherman too, Jim.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Stripers are running, and trout's always a good substitute. But thank you so much, Deirdre. Thanks for your time, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Great.